The only one with the mallus out of his face that basically played this game back when I was at the apartment for 2 years. Didn't complain as much as I do now, having to hear it from no remorse folks that understand the point of view of having two sides being heard and only one side's being heard, and it's not fair to have your side be hushed by people who use their position as sort of like as a hostile environment. I'm gonna try to unlock Tales from Prime Netflix show. Probably thought I was watching the Netflix show and not playing this for real, but I only one with the mall side of his face. And it may seem like I dye my hair and all that stuff, but it wasn't really as appeared the way it looks and seems. It's how things are. Like if you go to a haircut place, as much as I did back in 2000 and 10ish and that back then, I used to get the head shaved. I had long hair back then and get it shaved off every so often. It gets like that, and I pluck out a lot of stuff, and the other guy doesn't have a mole on the side of his face, doesn't have no emotion to what they try to swindle people, as well as a way of knowing that how you felt like if you had to go off somewhere and for 2 years, it wasn't all bad for 2 years, but not knowing if it was the apartment itself that made you feel that way in terms of getting ill from a shower leak, or the three things: a shower leak, a tick bite, or a bad drink. I mean, if you drink something and then it turns out that they could have not necessarily have the ability to know that, but if I did better with the apps on the phone than I did the actual video games, and played Gran Turismo, and basically got the mission to have them write to me on terms of stuff. Developers wrote to me on the Sonic app and have it on email attachment that I never shown other than the Switch. The Nintendo, sort of before the game was a mainline like opinion on what you thought the game is, like a sort of ability to write a review for it. And I didn't really like have the ability to know if they have something more to do with that, or other than having to been signed to something originally promised to you, and them seeing that and then turning around and having somebody say, hey, we should do that instead of doing the other thing. And I know Sega themselves probably have the ability to sign folks in terms of stuff. If you can do this on an app, and demonstrating it's harder to do it on an app than a console. Console, you have a controller. This is like time recognition on, like, going through with all the characters unlocked, and they basically periodically you have to keep checking to see if they do anything else with it. Then, I mean, like survey takers, like as a beta tester, they do surveys via game, and they'll give you like maybe a minimum of $50 gift cards here and there if you have the ability to write a good review on it, not really give leeway on terms of stuff like, say, this game has a patch that patched out the car physics and stuff is different from when you originally played. Like the car would have wreck damage on it on Gran Turismo via the sport. And I had footage of it at one point in time with the patch, unpatch, and then it patch. And I get 2 vaccines from going to the doctors, the flu vaccine and the ammonia vaccine. I shouldn't have had gone to those appointments if I got my arm isn't bruised, but it looks like it's gangrene. Gangrene isn't bruised, is like purple. This is green, so if you're diabetic for real, your body will get all sorts of things if you get nicked or cut, scratch. I'm not disease riddled, but I thought it was reversible in terms of stuff. The other one doesn't have a mole inside of his face. I had a bunch of moles inside of my fucking neck and that shit at the sprint center. Like, it's visible to tell that I'm not the other guy. I don't know how they even bother with this other guy that has no remorse over shit that he says and does. How the fuck... the other guy has a PS5. I have a fucking phone that has apps with my last name on it, Ortega. I have an Xbox Series ability to download games. I know Skylar wouldn't want the fucking other guy to be anything either if a guy sort of represented me in a good light back then. Then the guy that I went to high school with wanted to help me sue the Guadalupe Center for even allowing them to be sort of like fucking absurd with having me be able to go to school and have a job at the same time and then play it off. That's why I put F this and F that, because the terminology of having them be lewd to you. They're lewd to you. Like, lewd is having like them be obscured. Obscure is having them say obscure shit without any of them haven't been represented in a good light, and that's why I try to represent them in a good light at one point in time. But they can't steal a device that has your fucking email attachment that no one else has. That Ortega, like John Anthony Ortega, like I went for that and it has that on there, so they can't go forth and take something that has your first, middle, and last name and attach it to something else, because I know that they can't be done, because once you attach your video game to it, it only can go to that recipient. Recipient is the individual that did that. I know he doesn't have the ability to log into it. If I log out of it and never log back into it, this might be the final video. But I unlocked the character, so I'm not Samaturo, so they can't go forth and do a switcheroo if the fucking has no remorse and doesn't have a mole inside of his face or indentation of a mole inside of his face and doesn't have the same transcripts and doesn't have the same last name.